Good morning, Professor. My name is Evelyn de Gracia, and I'm going to talk about how to integrate grammar and the role of grammar, the PPT model, and the TTT alternative model. Here are some of the objectives of my presentation. First, I will explain why grammar is important, and then I will describe the PPT model and the TTT model. Finally, I will compare both methods and explain why teachers can use each one of them. Okay, first, let's understand why grammar is. Grammar is the systems of rules that help us to correct sentences. It also tells us how to use words in the right order. For example, we learn how to use verbs, and tenses describe different adjectives, nouns, prepositions, and without grammar, it's difficult to communicate clearly. Grammar is important because learning English, it helps students to communicate correctly. It also helps to improve speaking, writing, reading, and listening skills. Then students know grammar and they feel confident about using the language of English. However, in grammar should not only be about memorizing rules, set of rules, students also should use grammar in real life communication. Integrating grammar means that teaching grammar throughout real life situations instead of only just giving them a set of rules and explaining the rules. Teachers have to use conversations, stories, games, different songs, and different activities, and all of these will make the learning more interesting and make the students practice more grammar while they are communicating in English. One common method is the PPT model. This means that presentation, practice, and production. First, presentations, the teacher explains the grammar rule, and then the next one, which is practice, the students are going to practice with different exercises, and finally, the production is when the students are going to use the grammar to speak or write in different activities. This method is very organized and it is easy to follow. Here is an example. If a lesson is about the present continuous tense, first the teacher is going to explain, is going to present the topic, and then the students are going to complete after the practices, like filling the blanks or so many others. And finally, students are going to describe different pictures, talk about with a partner about any topic, and using the grammar that was presented. And in this way, the students are going to move from learning the rule, means the grammar, and then using that rule or the grammar into the real life communication. The PPT model has many advantages and as well as disadvantages. Some of the advantages are that it has a clear structure and it is especially used for beginners because by the way it presented and the students are going to understand the lesson step by step. However, it also has some disadvantages, and it is that sometimes students are used to memorize the rules and do not use the language as natural as possible, and the teacher usually is more active than the students because teacher is the one who talks more usually. And another teaching method is the TTT alternative model. TTT means test, teach, and test. First, students complete the task without any explanation given, and then the teacher is going to check any mistakes, and the teachers also find any needs that the students have, and the students have to do another activity to show what they have learned, and this method is more student-centered. Sorry. For example, if a student have or are learning the topic simple past, the teacher first asks them to write about what they did on weekend. That is an example. And after that, they read their work, and the teacher is going to explain some of mistakes that they have committed, and then the students are going to write another paragraph or activity using then the correct grammar, correcting their mistakes. And this method helps students to learn from their own mistakes. That is basically what TTT model is. The TTT model has many disadvantages and advantages as well. Some of them are that teacher helps to discover what students are already know, their background information, and students became more active and also independent. On the other hand, some disadvantages are that it might be difficult for beginners learners, because they have to try the activity before learning the grammar words, and it also requires a more careful lesson planning. Now let's compare the two models. The PPT model, the teacher explains first and then the students are going to practice. And with the TTT model, the students are going to try the activity first and then the teachers explain or identify the mistakes or the needs of the students. Also with the PPT method, the students is usually better for beginners learners, while the TTT works better with an intermediate or advanced students with that kind of level of English, because they already have some background information or some knowledge about English. There is no perfect model or method to teach. Both of them, the PPT and the TTT, are very useful, and teachers should choose any of them depending on what they want or the level of students that they have. And also, they have to consider the objective or they want to achieve in the classroom situation. And many teachers also combine both. They can be used both methods because they have many benefits by themselves. And to conclude, grammar is an important part of learning, and it should be taught meaningful for a communicative way. The PPT model provides some structures and is excellent for beginners. However, the TTT model encourages the students to discover and improve grammar throughout practicing and trying the language. By using this method, also teachers can discover and improve the way of teaching, and so that they can help the students to become more confident and effective as an English speaker. And here are some references of the